You know what fascinates me about retirement taxes? It's not just the forms, it's not even the rules. It's how the biggest money leaks often happen so quietly you barely notice them until years later. One quick thing before we dive in: if you're not subscribed, hit that button now. I think you'll want to stick around for what comes next. The real question isn't whether having $1 million and a pension means you're set. It's whether you know how to turn that income into a life that keeps more of what you've already earned. Most people hear a title like this and think the answer must be simple. Big savings, steady pension, problem solved. But here's the thing. That assumption can quietly set you up for expensive mistakes. Because retirement is not just about what comes in, it's about what slips out. And taxes are one of the most overlooked ways money quietly chips away at a plan that otherwise looked solid. Think of retirement like carrying water home in two buckets. One bucket is your income. The other bucket is what you actually keep after taxes, inflation, health costs, and the little spending surprises that creep in when life gets real. A lot of people spend decades focused on filling the first bucket. Then they retire and realize the second bucket has small holes in it. Not the kind that make you panic on day one. Quiet holes. The kind that silently erode confidence over time. Most people walk into retirement focused on account balances. They look at their 401k, their IRA, their savings, and they ask, is this enough? And if the number doesn't feel big enough, they feel behind, even if they have something incredibly valuable sitting right in front of them. The goal of retirement is not wealth, it's income. And once you understand that, the tax conversation changes too, because now you're not trying to win some contest about net worth. You're trying to build a monthly life that works. You're trying to make sure your income floor is strong, your taxes are manageable, and your savings are there to support you, not rescue you. I want you to imagine your retirement in two parts, not one big number, two distinct piles. Pile 1, income that shows up no matter what. This includes things like Social Security, pensions, rental income, money that continues whether the market is up or down. Pile 2, your savings, your investments, your accounts. Now here's the critical mistake most people make. They focus almost entirely on Pile 2 while barely acknowledging Pile 1. And yet, Pile 1 is often doing far more heavy lifting than people realize. Think of it this way. Your income floor is like the foundation of your house. Strong, underground, invisible, but holding everything up. Your savings? That's more like the furniture. Nice to have, comfortable, but it sits on top of something else. Most people focus on decorating the furniture while ignoring whether the foundation is solid. Here's the thing. Most people are being told they are behind when they're not. And sometimes the opposite is true too. Some people look safe on paper and still feel the silent pressure every time the market drops or a tax bill arrives. Numbers matter, but how you feel about those numbers, that matters just as much. Let's meet two people. The first one, let's call him Frank. Frank is 67. He spent over 3 decades working a steady, dependable job. Nothing flashy, no big windfalls, just consistency. If you saw him walking down the street, you wouldn't think, there goes someone financially secure. You might actually think the opposite. Frank lives in a modest home. He drives an older car. And if you looked strictly at his savings, you'd probably panic for him, because Frank has around $140,000 saved. By the standards you've been taught, Frank is behind. But here's what you don't see when you only look at that number. Frank has a monthly pension. He has Social Security income. His home is fully paid off. Every single month, without touching his savings, money shows up, consistently, predictably. Frank is not struggling. Frank is not stressed. Frank is living a life that works. Now let's meet Gary. Gary did everything right, at least according to the rules he was given. He saved aggressively. He invested diligently. He followed the benchmarks. And today, Gary has $800,000 saved. On paper, Gary is a success story, but Gary doesn't feel like one. Gary still has a mortgage. Gary doesn't have a pension. Gary relies heavily on his investment account to fund his life. Every market fluctuation feels personal. Gary has more money than Frank, but less peace. It's not about who has more saved. It's about who has more certainty. Here's a question. If you had to choose between more money or more certainty, which would it be? Keep that in your head as we go. Now, if you do have $1 million in a pension, taxes matter even more because you have options. And options are wonderful, right up until they become confusing. Think of taxes like a series of doors in a hallway. If you wait until the hallway is crowded, every door feels hard to open. But if you move earlier, when the hallway is still quiet, you can walk through the right doors with less pressure, less cost, and a lot more control. The first strategy is about not letting your future tax bill quietly grow in the dark. Picture your traditional retirement account like a storage unit. Every year you leave money inside, it can grow. That sounds great, but there is a catch. The government still has a key. And later, when required withdrawals begin, you may be forced to open that unit on their schedule, not yours. That can slowly raise your taxable income at exactly the wrong time. So one of the smartest things you can do is use the lower tax years on purpose. Maybe you retired but haven't claimed Social Security yet. Maybe your pension started but your required withdrawals haven't. Maybe one spouse stopped working before the other. Those can be golden planning years, quiet years, the years when your tax bracket may be lower than it will be later. In those years, small or moderate Roth conversions can make a lot of sense. Think of a Roth conversion like moving boxes from that storage unit into a room in your own house. Yes, you pay the moving fee now. That's the tax. But once the boxes are moved, that room is yours. Future growth is generally protected from future tax in a way your old storage unit never was. You're paying a known bill now to reduce unknown bills later. That doesn't mean convert everything all at once. That's where people get in trouble. They hear the strategy, get excited, and accidentally shove themselves into a much higher tax bracket. No, this is not a fire hose move. It's more like filling jars one at a time before the storm starts. Measured, intentional, calm. And that matters because pensions can create a very specific kind of tax pressure. A pension is wonderful. It can be one of the strongest financial foundations available today. But unlike savings, a pension is not something you can turn off for tax purposes. It shows up, it gets counted, it becomes part of the floor under everything else. That means the room you have left in lower tax brackets may be smaller than you think, which is exactly why you need to map it, not guess at it. Here's what you need to know. If your pension already covers a big part of your spending, that is great news. It means you are not relying on your investments for every grocery trip, every utility bill, every repair. You are not behind. In fact, you may already be standing on one of the strongest financial foundations available today. But because that pension creates taxable income, it also means your withdrawals need to be smarter. The second strategy is about timing income so it doesn't pile up on top of itself. Think of a dinner plate. A normal portion works, but keep stacking food higher and higher in one spot, and eventually it spills over the edge. That's what happens when pension income, Social Security required withdrawals, and investment gains all land on the same tax return without a plan. This is why the Social Security decision matters so much. Think of your benefit like a faucet. Behind that faucet is a pipe, one you've been filling your entire working life. Every paycheck, every tax contribution, it all builds pressure in that pipe. Now here's how it works. The longer you wait to turn the faucet on, the stronger the pressure becomes. Wait until 70, the flow is powerful. Turn it on earlier, the flow is lighter. But here's the part most people don't think about. That faucet belongs to you. You paid into it. And if you wait too long to turn it on, some of that water never reaches you. It just stays in the pipe, unused, gone. So the question isn't what's the best aging, it's what's the best decision for your life right now. If your pension already creates strong guaranteed income, waiting longer for Social Security can still make sense for some people, especially if you want a bigger survivor benefit for a spouse. But for others, turning on that faucet earlier reduces pressure on savings and lowers the need for larger withdrawals during a fragile period. It's not pessimism, it's realism. And in this case, realism isn't negative, it's empowering. A lot of people want one answer here. They want someone to say, always wait, or always claim early. But life doesn't work like that. Health matters, marriage matters, family history matters, work plans matter, cash flow matters, the tax picture matters, a pension changes the math, your spouse changes the math, even the order in which you pull money from different accounts changes the math. What do you think? Are most people actually behind on retirement, or are they just measuring it wrong? Now listen, one of the quiet lies in retirement planning is that more income is always better if you can get it. But income layered the wrong way can quietly erode efficiency. You might create more taxable Social Security. You might push more of your account withdrawals into a higher bracket. You might trigger extra costs without realizing it, not because you did something foolish, just because no one showed you how the pieces interact. That leads to the third strategy. Manage which bucket you pull from each year. Imagine you're cooking from two shelves in your kitchen. One shelf has canned goods that expire sooner. The other has fresh food you want to use at the right time. If you keep grabbing from the same shelf out of habit, something gets wasted. Retirement withdrawals work the same way. Traditional accounts, Roth accounts, and taxable brokerage accounts do not behave the same on a tax return. So why would you treat them the same? Some years, it may make sense to live partly from cash and taxable accounts to keep ordinary income lower. Some years, realizing gains while staying within a favorable range may be smart. Some years, using Roth funds can help you avoid stacking more taxable income on top of a pension and Social Security. The point is not to memorize rules. The point is to stop withdrawing by reflex. This is where people with $1 million often miss the opportunity. They think wealth alone creates safety, but wealth without order creates friction. One account gets hit too hard, another sits untouched. A future tax problem grows invisibly, steadily. And then later, when required withdrawals begin, they wonder why the tax bill feels so much heavier than expected. And by the way, if you have company stock, highly appreciated mutual funds, or a brokerage account with gains built up over many years, the tax character of those dollars matters. A dollar is not just a dollar. Some dollars arrive on your return loudly, some arrive gently, some barely make a sound. Learning that difference can save you thousands without changing your lifestyle at all. The fourth strategy is about not letting the sticker price scare you into lazy planning. Imagine walking onto a car lot. Every vehicle has a sticker price, bold, official, intimidating. It looks final, non-negotiable. But if you've ever bought a car, you already know the truth. Nobody pays the sticker. There are hidden discounts, dealer incentives, timing advantages, negotiation room. The real price is almost always lower. But the sticker exists to anchor your expectations, to make you feel like anything below it is a win, even if you're still overpaying. Now take that exact same system and apply it to retirement. That giant savings number people throw around, that's your sticker price. You hear that you need a huge nest egg. Then you look at your own plan and feel the quiet fear rising. But if you have a pension, and maybe later Social Security, that sticker price may not describe your life at all. It may describe someone else with a completely different foundation, different spending, different tax profile, and no guaranteed income. Stop measuring yourself against everyone else. Stop feeling behind and start focusing on what truly gives you freedom. The goal is not to die with the highest score. The goal is to build a life where the bills get paid, the surprises are manageable, and the money supports your values instead of controlling your mood. Let me ask you something. Do you know what your monthly income will actually look like when you retire? Be honest with yourself. Because this brings us to the fifth strategy, and it is one of the most practical. Know your real income floor before you chase extra returns. I mean, truly know it. Not roughly, not emotionally, actually know it. Start with the money that shows up whether the market is smiling or not. Pension, Social Security, maybe rental income if it's stable, maybe an annuity if you already have one. That is pile one. That is the part of your life trying to keep a roof over your head and food on the table without drama. Then look at your actual spending, not what you guess, not what you hope, your real life. Housing, insurance, food, transportation, travel, gifts, repairs, healthcare, the random stuff that always seems to appear. Most people underestimate by a lot because spending in retirement doesn't disappear. It changes shape. The commute may go away, but home repairs, helping family, hobbies, and health costs can quietly take its place. Inflation is the silent eroder here. Think of it like a slow leak in a tire. You can still drive for a while and barely notice it. Then one day the ride feels off, the steering gets heavy, and you realize the pressure has been dropping for a long time. That's inflation. It rarely announces itself. It just quietly chips away at what your money can do. Yes, Social Security has cost of living adjustments. Pensions sometimes have them too, but many do not, and some that do offer only partial protection. So when you build your plan, don't treat today's expenses like permanent truth. The grocery bill creeps, insurance creeps, Property taxes nudge higher. Health costs slowly raise the pressure. If your income floor looks strong today, ask yourself what it looks like later after years of silent erosion. This is where the phrase income floor becomes so powerful, because once you know what part of your life is covered, you stop staring at your total balance like it has to do everything. Maybe your $1 million is not there to create your whole retirement. Maybe it's there to cover the gap, absorb inflation, handle travel, help your spouse, and give you choices. That is a completely different emotional experience. Here's something to think about. If you found out today that you're actually on track, how would that change your week? And that leads to the sixth strategy. Plan for the person who may be left behind. This one matters more than many couples realize. Think of retirement income like a table with several legs. While both of you are alive, the table may feel solid. But if one leg disappears, the whole balance changes. A pension may reduce or stop depending on the option you chose. One Social Security check disappears. Taxes may even rise in a strange way because the household income drops, but the surviving spouse can move into a less favorable filing status. That is one of the cruel little twists of retirement taxes. A widow or widower can end up paying higher rates on less total income because the tax brackets change around them. So if you have $1 million and a pension, survivor planning is not a side issue. It is central. Should you choose a pension option that protects a spouse? Should the higher-earning spouse delay Social Security to create a larger survivor benefit? Should Roth conversions be done earlier while both spouses are alive and filing together? These are not abstract questions. These are life questions. They affect the person who may someday have to make decisions while grieving. Here's a question for the married folks. Have you and your spouse ever actually talked about what happens if one of you is gone? Now I want to touch on something else that quietly erodes confidence, and that is sequence of returns risk. Big phrase. Simple idea. Think of your investment account like an orchard. If you keep picking fruit during a storm, especially early in retirement, the trees don't get the same chance to recover. That's what happens when the market drops and you're withdrawing from savings at the same time. The losses and the withdrawals hit together. Why does this matter for taxes? Because if your pension covers a big part of your life, you may not need to yank as much from investments during bad years. That flexibility can be incredibly valuable. It gives your portfolio time. It reduces panic. It helps you avoid selling at the worst moments. Again, it's not about who has more saved. It's about who has more certainty. I want to ask you something personal. Have you ever avoided opening your retirement statements because you were afraid of what you'd see? If you have, you are not alone. A lot of smart, responsible people do that. Not because they're careless, because the emotional weight is real. Numbers can feel like judgment. But here's what you need to remember. You don't need perfection to have a successful retirement. You need clarity. That includes being honest about taxes that are hiding in plain sight. Maybe your pension is taxable. Maybe a large part of your traditional account has never been taxed. Maybe your Social Security will be partly taxable depending on your other income. Maybe future required withdrawals could be larger than you expect. None of that means you're doomed. It just means you need a plan that sees the full picture. And here's another quiet discovery people miss. The Social Security Administration used to offer tools that many people treated like simple answer machines. But calculators only help when the question is understood correctly. A number on a screen can create false confidence if you don't know how your pension, spouse, taxes, and timing decisions all interact. That is why chasing one magic answer quietly leads so many people in the wrong direction. Think about this. If guaranteed income was the only thing that mattered, would you feel better or worse about where you stand? For many people, the honest answer is better, much better. Because once you strip away the noise, you realize that what you wanted all along was not the biggest account. It was the ability to wake up without financial stress, to pay the bills, to handle surprises, to enjoy a Tuesday without guilt. And guilt matters in retirement more than people admit. Some retirees have enough, yet every purchase feels dangerous. Why? Because their whole life taught them to accumulate, not decumulate, to protect, not spend, to watch balances rise, not use the money with confidence. A pension can help with that because it gives spending a rhythm. It reminds you that money is still arriving, but if taxes are unmanaged, even that comfort can get distorted. Quick question. Have you ever felt guilty about spending money in retirement? That feeling shows up more than you think. This is why keeping taxes lower is not just an accounting exercise. It's emotional. Every dollar you don't unnecessarily send away is a dollar that can support your real life. A visit with family, a safer car, better health care, help for a grandchild, a little more ease. And remember Gary and Frank. Gary looked stronger, Frank looked behind. But Frank had certainty. Frank had structure. Gary had more exposure. That contrast shows up in tax planning too. The person with the giant account and no strategy can feel squeezed from every direction. The person with less but better structure can feel steady. You may already have what people with millions are searching for. A pension is not just monthly income. It is reduced pressure on your investments. It is potentially fewer forced withdrawals from volatile assets. It is a quieter emotional life. It is a tool that can help you shape taxes if you respect how it fits into the rest of the puzzle. Now, let me be clear. A pension does not make you bulletproof. If your spending is too high, if debt is still heavy, if inflation keeps creeping, if you ignore withdrawal strategy, taxes can still quietly chip away at your freedom. But this is exactly why you need to stop framing retirement as one giant score and start seeing it as a system. I want to know, have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, but still felt behind? You are not alone. That feeling often comes from using the wrong measuring stick. It comes from comparing your entire future to a headline number with no context. It comes from hearing million-dollar targets without asking what those targets were meant to replace. It comes from seeing a balance and not seeing the invisible asset sitting next to it. The invisible asset may be your pension. It may be your Social Security timing flexibility. It may be your paid-off home. It may be your lower spending. It may be the fact that your basic life is already covered before you touch most of your savings. That matters a lot. Let me ask you, have you ever calculated what your pension is actually worth in real dollars? Most people never do. So here's what I want you to do. Figure out your income floor. What money is coming in every month, no matter what? Pension, Social Security, anything stable and predictable. That number matters more than you've been told. Then calculate your real expenses, not based on your current salary, based on your actual life. Housing, food, healthcare, travel, the things you truly care about. Because retirement isn't about replacing income, it's about supporting your lifestyle. After that, find the gap. What is the difference between your dependable income and your actual spending? That gap is what your savings need to cover. Not some giant benchmark, not some sticker price number, just the gap. And once you know that, look at which account should cover it in the most tax-efficient way. Maybe that means pulling from taxable funds first in one season. Maybe it means partial Roth conversions in another. Maybe it means delaying or claiming Social Security based on how it affects your spouse and your taxes, not based on what your neighbor did. Then build a buffer, not just a target. Enough is good. Enough plus breathing room is better. Cash reserves matter. Flexible spending matters. A plan for bad market years matters. A plan for inflation matters. A plan for a surviving spouse matters. Because retirement is not one long, smooth line. It is a real life with curveballs. And finally, review the plan before the government reviews it for you. Don't wait until required withdrawals force your hand. Don't wait until taxes pile up on top of pension income and Social Security. Don't wait until one spouse is gone and the options are smaller. The best time to shape your tax future is often before the pressure arrives. Here's a thought. If the system only rewards you with almost enough, you will spend your entire life chasing more. How does that make you feel? For a lot of people, tired. And I get that. But this is the good news. You don't have to keep chasing if your foundation is already stronger than you thought. You don't need perfection to have a successful retirement. You need clarity. You need to understand what your pension is doing for you, what your taxes might do to you, and what choices are still available while you have room to act. If the system only rewards you with almost enough, you will spend your entire life chasing more. But if you understand your numbers, if you build your income, if you define your life on your terms, you don't chase anymore. You decide. And that's the shift from fear to clarity, from chasing to choosing, from not enough to enough. If this video made you think differently about your retirement, subscribe. The next one goes even deeper.